A pleasant day everyone, how are you today? It's nice to hear, so now let's proceed to Lesson 2, Methods of Philosophizing. Before anything else, when you hear the word philosophizing, what comes into your mind?
When you say philosophizing is to think or express oneself in a philosophical manner. Meaning class philosophizing is the act of engaging in deep, critical, and reflective thought about fundamental questions concerning existence, knowledge, values, reason, mind, and language. It's not merely about knowing philosophical theories or the history of philosophy, but about actively participating in the process of inquiry itself.
Did you get it about philosophizing? Do you have any question? If none, let's proceed to methods of philosophizing. We have 5 methods of philosophizing: phenomenology, existentialism, postmodernism, logic and critical thinking, and last one is fallacies. So now let's proceed to the first methods.
The first methods of philosophizing is phenomenology on consciousness. This focuses on careful inspection and description of phenomena and appearances defined as an object of conscious experience, that which we are conscious of. Meaning class. Phenomenology is the systematic philosophical method for exploring and describing the fundamental structures and qualities of consciousness, emphasizing direct, first-person experience and the inherent intentionality of awareness. It seeks to understand the how and what of conscious experience, rather than just the why or where in purely physical terms, and also consciousness refers to the state of being aware of oneself and one's surroundings. It's the experience of having a subjective inner life, the what it is like to be you, to see colors, hear sounds, feel emotions, or think thoughts. The next one is existentialism on freedom. According to Soren Kierkegaard, the truth might be based on one's attitude or outlook. The authentic self as the personally chosen self, as opposed to public or herd identity. So class, according to Kierkegaard, freedom is not a comfortable state of boundless options but a fundamental, often agonizing, aspect of human existence. It's the radical responsibility for self-creation, which inevitably brings anxiety and the potential for despair. True freedom, in his view, is found not in avoiding these difficult truths, but in courageously embracing them and, ultimately, in a passionate, subjective commitment, often expressed through a leap of faith towards the divine. And also existentialism posits that human beings are uniquely defined by their freedom. This freedom is not a gift but a heavy burden, as it means we are solely accountable for giving meaning to our lives in a world that offers none inherently. To live a truly human life, then, is to face this freedom courageously, make conscious choices, and take full responsibility for the person one creates. The next method of philosophizing is postmodernism. On cultures, postmodernism has come into vogue as the name for a rather diffuse family of ideas and trends that in significant respect rejects, challenges, or aims to supersede modernity. So class postmodernism views cultures not as stable, unified entities guided by universal truths, but as dynamic, fragmented, and contested spaces where meanings are constantly constructed, deconstructed, and reconstructed through language, power, and media. It emphasizes diversity, skepticism towards authority, and the inherent contingency of all cultural forms and knowledge. The next method of philosophizing is logic and critical thinking. Tools and reasoning serves as paths to freedom from half-truths and deceptions. Critical thinking helps us uncover bias and prejudice and open to new ideas not necessarily in agreement with previous thought. So class logic is the formal study of reasoning and argumentation. It provides rules and principles for distinguishing good arguments from bad ones. Inference, validity, and soundness and critical thinking is the practical application of logical principles to real-world situations. It's an active, reflective, and systematic process that involves analysis, evaluation, self-regulation, and also decision-making, and also class, logic, and critical thinking. Tools and reasoning represents the skill set and intellectual discipline required to navigate complex information environments, make sound judgments, and effectively communicate reasoned arguments in both academic and everyday contexts. It's about thinking clearly, rationally, and independently. Did you get it, class? We have two basic types of reasoning: inductive reasoning, deductive reasoning. So now let's proceed to deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning starts with a general statement or hypothesis, a premise, and examines the possibilities to reach a specific logical conclusion. If the premises are true and the argument is structured correctly valid, then the conclusion must be true. So class, deductive reasoning is about drawing tight, inescapable conclusions from a set of established truths. It's about working from what is known or assumed to be true to arrive at something specific that must also be true. The next one is inductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning starts with specific observations or instances and works towards a general conclusion or a probable generalization. The conclusion is not guaranteed to be true. Even if the premises are true, it's merely probable. Meaning class, inductive reasoning is about discovering patterns and making informed predictions or generalizations based on observed data, acknowledging that these conclusions are always subject to revision with new evidence. So now let's proceed to the next methods of philosophizing: fallacies. Fallacies is defect in argument other that it's having false premises. To detect fallacies, it's required to examine the argument's content. So class, in the context of logic and critical thinking, a fallacy is a flaw or error in reasoning that weakens an argument. Even if the premises of an argument are true, the conclusion might not logically follow if a fallacy is present. Fallacies can make an unsound argument appear sound, or a weak argument appear strong, often by playing on emotions, distracting from the real issue, or using misleading language. Do you understand, class? Do you have any question? Here's are some example of fallacies: appeal to pity, appeal to ignorance, equivocation, division, against the person, appeal to force, appeal to people, false cause, hasty generalization. Begging the question, those are the example of fallacies. So now let's proceed to applying logic and fallacies in determining truth from opinion. So this concept lies at the heart of critical thinking and rational discourse. It describes the essential skill set needed to navigate the vast amount of information we encounter daily and to discern what is genuinely verifiable or logically sound for what is merely a personal belief, unsupported assertion, or flawed argument. So next is what is true. The term truth is difficult to singularly define. In philosophy, there is no generally acceptable definition of truth. There are, however, various theories of truth, Esteras and Gallinero, 2017. Truth remains a multifaceted and complex concept, but in common and critical usage, it generally refers to a statement's alignment with reality, consistency, and verifiable evidence. The next one is the ultimate truth. The human person will always seek the truth, specifically the ultimate truth, because that is what he is bound to do in accordance with his nature. The ultimate truth is a philosophical concept that refers to a singular, foundational, and absolute truth or reality that underlies all existence, knowledge, and meaning. It's the highest, most fundamental, or most complete truth that explains everything. Example of ultimate truth. Example. For certain rationalist or logicism perspectives, the ultimate truth might be the inherent structure of logic and reason itself. All other truths are ultimately reducible to or derivable from fundamental logical principles. This is less common as a sole ultimate truth, but emphasizes the foundational nature of rationality for understanding anything. Next one is opinion, a judgment, viewpoint, or statement that is considered to be subjective. It is formed based on the person's understanding, feelings, or desires about matters, topics, issues, or concerns, meaning class. While all people are entitled to their opinions, not all opinions are equally valid when it comes to claims about objective truth. A well-reasoned opinion might be supported by logic and evidence, making it more persuasive, but still remains distinct from a verifiable fact. We have a subjectivity versus objectivity. First is the subjectivity. Influences, informs, or biases the person's judgment about truth and reality. a collection of meanings that are specific to a person. Opinions are inherently subjective. They reflect what someone thinks or feels, rather than an objective reality that can be universally verified. So now let's proceed to the seeking of the truth by the human person. Only the human person is capable of higher-order thinking by relying on the following types of senses. Meaning class, the human person's seeking of truth is a multifaceted and continuous journey, driven by an innate desire for understanding, powered by logic and critical thinking, protected by an awareness of fallacies, and often culminating in the profound quest for a comprehensive ultimate reality. It is a fundamental process that shapes our knowledge, actions, and very sense of being. Here is our example of the seeking of the truth by the human person. The physical faculties. Point 1. External, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. 2. Internal, memory, imagination, consciousness, and instinct, physical faculties. And for spiritual faculty, the mind as its locus and thinking, its central activity. According to Immanuel Kant, considered as the central figure of modern philosophy, the human person has three ways of taking something to be true, Verhalten, a judgment that a cognition which is presented as true. According to Jean-Paul Sartre, man exists, turns up, appears on the scene, and only afterwards defines himself. LF man conceives him, is indefinable. It is because he is nothing. Only afterward will he be something, and he himself will have made what he will be. So here our lesson today. Do you have any question? If none, let's proceed to your activity, personal journal writing. Direction: prepare a journal writing. You may personalize it. Name your journal. You are encouraged to write your thoughts, wishes, reflection, feelings, and emotions for each day. Treat your journal as your friend, companion, and confidant. It has no limitation. You are expected to submit this journal. Here's our rubrics on how to grade your personal journal writing. Lived experiences are the most important reality. And that's all the lesson for today. If you have a question, don't hesitate to ask me. I'm your teacher. I will help you. Thank you and goodbye. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.